people are being awakened to come back to the horses. The horses called me. Like I tell people, a lot of times you feel drawn. They feel the draw of them pulling you from the heart. We all have some kind of interaction in our ancestral lines in the past. You got to go to the horses. So they're coming through readings, they're coming through visions, they're coming through dreams. So they ride between the worlds of being grounded on this earth and being connected to spirit, and they show us how to be spiritual in a physical body. Their heart rate is a lot slower. So what they do is they start to bring people into a calmer state. So our emotions usually and our belief systems drive our behaviors. And so if we're behaving in a certain way that isn't getting what we really want in life, then we need to change the behaviors by changing the beliefs. And so as we change these emotions and belief systems, then we actually behave who we truly are, the true authentic self.
Hi, everyone. This is Ella Marie Francisco. Today, we're talking to Brenda Brown at Mystic Waters Ranch. She runs a ranch with horses. She uses horses to heal. And I wanted to talk to her. I wanted you to know about her work and the magic of the horses and the healing. Hi, Brenda.
Hi.
I wondered if you might want to explain how it all began for you. Training with horses.
I grew up on a farm in Alberta with horses, so they've always been in my life in some form or way. When we sold the farm and I moved into a small town, I would go to riding stables and always just had the desire that I needed to be with them some way, some form. When I was in Alberta, it was snowing most of the winter, and then there was mosquitoes in the summer. So I thought, I want to go somewhere where I can ride more. So I ended up moving to BC. And that's what I did, is I was riding a lot. And then I found a place at Campbell Valley to ride, ended up running the stable there for a couple of years. And then I actually ran my own riding stable for 7 years.
And then what made you make the jump into working with the horses as a healing modality? I mean, obviously horses have a big heart and they've got, I think, a lot of intuitive sensibilities themselves. You must have picked up on that one-on-one, but how did you make the move to introducing people to that modality?
When I was running my ranch, I was working with people to have a whole horse experience rather than then just come and ride and take the horse and bring it back. They literally had to groom and saddle their own horse. When they finished the ride, they had to come back, take the saddle off, groom it again, either gave it their lunch or their dinner. So it felt like it was more like their horse, and there's more interaction on the ground rather than just always in the saddle. And so we would do different types of adventures. So we would do trail rides, we'd do lessons, we'd do wedding proposals, we robbed a train once, pub rides, we did swimming. So we did lots of adventurous stuff. So it wasn't just the same old all the time for the horses. And I just always felt I wanted to have the horses seen more than just something that people just got on and rode. So there was already this passion and this understanding with the horses back then. And then as we know, spirit has a way of saying, you're going in another direction. And so I literally had to surrender my ranch, and I still had horses, but I had to give up the ranch, and I ended up working in a naturopathic office for 13 years. I thought at first it was like, why am I doing this? But then as I got to see all the training and all the things that were brought to me, spirit was saying, you need all this in order for your dream to come true.
No kidding. And then how long after that was it that you realized you could piece all this together?
It was something that was kind of showing up when I was working at the clinic. I'd see different people that were working with the horses, and they would say how much that helped them to heal and stuff. And I kind of had this light inside me going, that's it, that's what I want to do. So I ended up having to move away from the naturopathic clinic and founded Mystic Waters Ranch in 2011. Then it took a little while to get the horses and me ready to actually find a way to bring all of my teachings and learnings and messages together.
How much of this is the horse leading and you following? Because even though it was your idea and you could see this happening, without that sense from the horses, I think horses know, don't they? I mean, they know if something's amiss or something's off, or they like to attract to people who are open. It's my sense anyway.
Absolutely. As you had your experience, you were drawn to a horse and it came to you. So basically the horses called me. They were like, I tell people, a lot of times you feel drawn. They feel the draw of them pulling you. They're pulling you from the heart. They're not pulling you from the mind. They may show up in your dreams. They may show up in meditations. They may show up. I have lots of people say, well, I had a reading and they said, though, you got to go to the horses. So they're coming through readings. They're coming through visions. They're coming through dreams. And so people are being awakened to come back to the horses, because if you think about, we all have some kind of interaction in our ancestral lines in the past and past life in the past.
Yeah, good point. Wow, I never even thought of that. You know, I had an interesting experience happening this past weekend. I did a tea leaf reading, and the very first thing I saw was the character Gumby from that show years ago. And so I just mentioned to the woman I was reading, I said, well, do you remember that show Gumby and Pokey? And she just started crying because she had a horse named Velvet that she was racing, and the horse had just died. So the horse showed up in the teacup. The Gumby part was her, but that was the way the horse showed up to us. And I thought it was amazing. Horses could come through in spirit as well. She just started sobbing. She said, oh my God, I've got to show you the picture. I've got to tell you why that's significant. And the last Halloween they had together, she dressed her up as Pokey, and then she was dressed up as Gumby. So she opened up this phone of hers and showed me this giant green suit that she was in.
Oh my gosh.
And I just thought, oh my word. So I felt like last year the horses had initiated me in BC, and I feel like now they're showing up as an option for mediumship. So I would agree with you. I think they're way bigger than we are.
Well, they're very connected to spirit. So they ride between the worlds of being grounded on this earth and being connected to spirit. And they show us how to be spiritual in a physical body.
Oh, wow. That's a great way of putting it. That's so true.
And sometimes we see people trying to always be in the spirit world.
Right.
Because there's too much pain. So they dissociate or they leave their body because of the amount of pain that's in their body. But we have to work to release the pain so that we don't feel that in our bodies.
Yeah, my God. I was amazed. Well, yeah, and during that tea leaf reading, she released a lot of pain through the tears, you know, and releasing her grief. So I feel like that horse came to help her spill it. And on her way to get the reading, she had dropped off all the horse blankets to a thrift shop because she wanted to pass them on to somebody. So anyway, I thought it was pretty mystical. And I wonder, too, if you wanted to talk about some of the experiences on how the horses have kind of taken the lead on things in some of your healings, or if there's anything else you want to mention before you go into that.
When I started working back with the horses, I was a little lost on how I was going to marry the work that I knew and how I was going to bring that towards working with the horses. And so over time, by partnering with them and being with them, it was like it started to unfold and they started to kind of show me the way. There was this one event that I was holding for young youths, and Belle, one of my black mares, she is our heart horse, and she had this vision for me to do with them. And she wanted them to feel that the universe has their back. So she said she wanted them all in a round pen in chairs facing out. And then each person got to go talk with Belle for a little bit and talk about what it is that they're feeling that she might be able to help them with. One had a little pet that had passed, and so she didn't have a chance to grieve it, so she was able to release that with Belle. Another one, Belle came up and was rubbing her knee, and she had knee pain. And so each person had this opportunity to kind of spend a few minutes with Belle. And then she kind of tried to get in the middle and behind all the chairs. And so I opened up the chairs and everybody kind of moved up and made the circle so their backs were the chairs. She stood in the middle of the circle. She went around and she touched each one of their back.
No.
So that they could feel the love of the universal energy coming through and that unconditional love.
That must have been amazing. I noticed when you sent me the videos, there were like one-on-one and the horses were approaching. So do you direct any of that when it happens, or do you it just happens and it happens and you roll with it?
So when we're in the session, we usually set up the activity that we're going to do with the person. We're going to share that we ask the person to go out and check with which horse they want to partner with or which horse wants to partner with them. And then they make that choice. And so sometimes two horses will pick up and say, I'll do it. And then we give them the option. You want a masculine or a feminine? You want a more excitable or more calm experience, so they can choose. So then when we set them up, we take them into the ground pen if that's where we're working, and then we start the activity, and the horse is at liberty. So that means the horse is free to move around. The horse can participate at any time, any way that they feel that they need to.
I mean, by that time, the people must be receptive because they've gotten used to working with the horse throughout the day, right? Is that correct?
Well, usually our first introduction is to teach them, why horses are so powerful and how they communicate, so that when they go in, they already know the horses, they've already met them, they already understand some of their languaging and communication. And so they are already prepped and ready to step into that round pen with them. So what we do is we go out with them and we teach them how the horses are moving their ears. What does that mean if it's forward or back? They can go individually or they can pin their ears. We always are watching to see, because where their ears are is where their attention is.
Oh, really? So you know by how their ears are pointing or where they're pointing?
Yeah. So if their ears are forward, they're looking forward. If they're back, they're listening back. They can have one ear forward, one ear back. And a sign of aggression is more of like a pin sense, like they pull their ears back, but they can also it's almost like a dog growling. They kind of go, move. So that's how they move each other. If you ever see wild horses, they'll move each other by pinning the ears and directing the energy.
Oh my God, that must be wild.
So we have to be careful because that's their way of saying, back off, you're too close, or no. So we want to make sure that sign is noticed by the clients. They also go into their eyes and how they look. So they actually love it when you look in their eyes.
I thought so, because I was amazed when that happened to me at Blue River. It was like a little love affair right there between me and that horse. And they were so unwavering. Like, that's what I thought was so amazing. They stood there forever. I was just amazed. And then the communication between the two horses, almost like, we're going to show you what love looks like. It was just like such an amazing experience. So do you want to tell a story about some of the most amazing things you've seen or some of the most amazing changes? Because that must change people.
And it all depends on which kind of activity we do, because it's pretty amazing how they step up to support, because each person, the horse is reading their energy, because energy is their first language. So they're going to be listening and feeling what's going on with that person and reflecting it back and giving them feedback about what they're hanging on to that they may not be aware of.
Yes.
And they'll also let them know that if they're thinking about talking about something, whether it's present or if it's old.
Really? How do they tell the difference?
So sometimes what they'll do, if it's old, they'll keep looking over their shoulder, over their back. So it could be that they're looking over the right side. So this is like passed on your dad's side, could be passed on the mom side, or they'll dig deeper. It's like digging and digging and digging. It's like, dig deeper. This is the surface stuff. You got to go deeper, girl.
No kidding.
Yeah.
And then are you the one that's obviously articulating that? Like, you're doing the translations as you go through this healing process with them?
No, I'm actually inspiring the clients to do their own interpretation, because I want them to say, how does it feel for them? What's going on in their body when the horse did that?
Okay.
So we want to empower people to trust what their gut is saying, because otherwise it's like I'm doing that for them, but then they're like, well, I don't know. It's like more impactful if they said, this is what I got.
And they're obviously aware of what's going on inside of them, or what's getting stirred up. Even if they didn't know what the source material was, they'd certainly know what the surface was as it's trying to clear, I imagine. Mm-hmm. So you must really witness how cathartic that must be, moment to moment.
Yeah, and how, for me, it just seemed natural, because I've been doing it for so long. It just seems like, well, of course, that's what's going to happen. But for the people that are coming, they're like, what? What just happened?
No doubt. Is there like an average length of time that it takes to kind of get to these gems of release and interpretation or understanding?
Well, it's happening all the time when they're with them. So it's a matter of unlayering and softening them to be able to get into what we call the parasympathetic. So with a horse, a lot of times their heart rate is a lot slower. So what they do is they start to bring people into a calmer state.
Oh, nice.
So I've had people just standing with the horses, and all of a sudden all this emotion starts to come up because they feel seen, they feel their sacred space has been held for them, and they feel protected. And this horse isn't going to tell anybody. And so it helps them to kind of bring up some of this emotion. And they may not even know what it's all about, but it's very powerful.
Yeah, I can imagine the release would be pretty profound. There's something about the horses laying down or sitting down that's significant.
It depends on the client and what's happening. So I had this one lady that came, and she was sitting, we were doing a clearing, we were clearing an old emotion, and we had brought in my pinto, Maya. And Maya is very energetic. So she's the kind of horse that'll kick up her heels, run around and snort and whatever. But on this day, she came and she laid right down in front of what we call the now, which is represented by a hula hoop. It's interesting because as we did the clearing and we came back, Maya was there, and then the lady went down and she kneeled in the now, and then she was holding her hands, and she does mediumship work as well. And so for them, a lot of times she felt a presence here. There was a spirit here. And so she was like, usually they will kind of like go up their arm to see how old it is, right? But she was holding her hands, and all of a sudden it just landed in her hands.
No kidding.
And it was like part of her came back inside of her body, because now she feels safe enough and there is no pain, so she could come back into herself.
Oh my God, that must have been wild.
And Maya was just holding that space. And it was funny because there was a little rock. I don't know if you saw it, but there's a little rock that looks like a little heart rock that was right in front of Maya while she lay down. And then she literally laid right down, and just like this person was so tired of being dissociated from herself.
Yeah, that can be exhausting. I mean,
Yeah.
So do you ever hear from people after the fact? I mean, do you get letters?
Oh, always.
After the fact? I would think so. It would just be such profound change. It would orchestrate a whole new world, probably within minutes. Wow.
A whole new behavior. So our emotions usually and our belief systems drive our behaviors. And so if we're behaving in a certain way that isn't getting what we really want in life, then we need to change the behaviors by changing the beliefs. And so as we change these emotions and belief systems, then we actually behave who we truly are, the true authentic self.
What an amazing gift.
I find that when people come, what I want to do is I want them to be able to feel in and say, what does this horse feel like to you? And what's going on in your body when you're with them? And is this a lead horse, or is it a goofy or silly or whatever? So it starts them to get aware of their body and start trusting it. So by the time they get through 4 or 5 horses, they're starting to really trust that intuition. It's really starting to come alive.
Talk about how you came up with the idea of the Mystic Ranch.
I was doing a vision board. And I had these girls that were riding on horses running through water, and then I had this Mystic Waters piece in there, and I went to a lunch with some ladies, and I was sharing about that, and I was trying to figure out a name, and I like this Mystic Waters, and they're like, that's a great name. And I go, yeah, it is, isn't it? So I called it the Mystic Waters Ranch.
How do people normally find you? I mean, do they just sort of happen upon you?
In many ways.
I'll bet they're led.
Yeah, they may be referred,
Okay.
right? Because somebody's had this powerful experience and they go, you got to go see the horses. They may just search me up on Google, because I get a lot of people from Google that are doing Google searches looking for equine therapy or whatever. Sometimes it's a friend of a friend. It could be somebody like you, right? That does a reading, and it's like, oh, the horses are asking you to go to them.
Yeah, that is no joke. Well, I also wanted to ask about, how did you decide to do your deck? Because you still have your deck, don't you?
Yeah, my inspirational deck, yeah. I call it inspirational because it has numerology. So each of the cards is a number, and so we use numerology, we use crystals, we use the picture, and then we use the message. So it's more inspirational. These are from the horse's heart. These are the messages that the horses wanted me to continue to share with others in a bigger way.
Figured it was probably horse speak, right? Is there like an industry term for horse speak?
There is the company down in the States, or a place down in the States, that calls it horse speak. And they have like, I think 100 horses that people go out into their herd and just kind of learn how the horses speak. We just call it horse communication.
And how long, I'm just curious, how long did it take you to put that deck together?
4 years.
Wow. And then you did the drawings, right? Like you did.
I did about 80% of the drawings.
I just remember it being really beautiful. Yeah, you definitely have a market for those. out of all the experiences you had one-on-one with this healing modality, is there a commonality that is generalized across the map, or is it that individualized that you just never know where it's going? It's open, right?
It's open. So we really have to see what it is that the horses are helping the person to feel and what they need to feel and what they're ready to release.
Do you find that they are really empathic too and need their own healing, or how do they go about processing their emotions or their awarenesses?
Yes, they definitely do need some support and help at times. It took me a while to prepare my horses to do this kind of work. So, getting them clear and doing emotional work with them, doing healings with them. One of the things we use now is the tuning forks with them. Yeah, so we can either use a pendulum or a dowsing rods to find out what layers that they're holding and what they need. So we can use the tuning forks to help.
Oh, no kidding.
Release that energy in the layers that they need to, or in their chakras. So we've been offering that to the horses.
So you must see the result of that pretty quickly once you're moving through that. And do you feel like they store energy as well or transmute it?
I ask them just to be a reflector, just to reflect the energy, not to take it on. Yeah, some people haven't told their horses, this is not about you taking this. We can't take on anybody else's energy and emotions and think we've healed them.
Right.
My horses are very clear. It's like, no, I'm just here to give you the feedback, show you what I'm picking up and sensing, and it's up to you to do the work.
Good.
I'll support you. I'll tell you where you need to go or what you need to feel in order for you to be able to release it. But it's up to the person because it's their journey.
Yeah, I was wondering about that because I would think that they're so sensitive. I'm glad to know that they don't really take it on. And what about anger? What about extreme emotion? If it's coming up in somebody, like if they're releasing anger, does it melt right on the spot because of the horses? I mean, anger is an interesting thing to release.
Well, the thing is it truly anger? Or is it hurt? So we have to clarify whether or not, if they say a certain event, because anger really means about boundaries being crossed and we need to stand up and say, no, that's not appropriate. Whereas in hurt is where we've taken on something personally and we've brought it into our heart, nerves, and our bodies, and now we're hanging on to it. So somebody may have said something, why do we need to take it personal? It's not about us, it's more about their filters and their emotions and their belief systems and their pain.
Right.
So if we do that, we kind of clear the hurt first before we can clear the anger.
Good point.
And we don't want to clear the emotions so they don't feel the emotions anymore. We want to clear the old stuff that was trapped and stuck. So when the opportunity of something comes up, like somebody is crossing your boundary, you definitely want to feel that anger because that's your signal to say, no, this is inappropriate. No, thank you. This isn't working for me. Because if we take our anger away, and then now we don't have any anger to protect ourselves, because that's what anger will do, as long as it's present in the moment in this situation.
Well, do you run these workshops, or do you call them sessions? Or
well, if I'm doing one-on-one, I call them sessions. If we do in a group, I call them a workshop or a class. And then I do trainings as well.
Okay, so then do you give people the option of whether to do one-on-one or a group, or do you sense what's best for them when they present and you do the sort of intake, or how do you go about that?
All depends on how they reach me. If they reach me and they've got a few friends and they want to do a workshop, then it's a workshop, right? If it's just them individually, then we do an individual, and sometimes then we'll say I'm doing a workshop, then time to come in. And sometimes I've had it where I've done like packages with somebody and then they end up taking the training because they found out how powerful it was and this is what they want to do too.
I know you had a lot of your own intuitive connection. You've had horses for a long time before you decided to do the actual healing. But what was it about you that decided to go into the actual structured healing as a technique?
Calling my training Mystic Hearts Equine Facilitated Learning, so EFL. I took a training back in 2014 because there was nothing like this before. So it was like, you're guided, okay, so this is what it is. So that was the structure in which I was considered to be indoctrinated into. And so later I actually stepped into training and being a West Coast trainer. And then over the last year, with things happening, Spirit and the horses were saying, it's time for you to evolve the trainings, something you've got to create now. So that's what happened.
So the amount of trust and faith that you had in the process would have been enormous, obviously.
Totally. And also, I just said, you know what? If this is what the horses are asking me to do, is to level up the training, because we want to come from a heart, a higher heart, which is, like we just finished 2025, which was a 9-year in numerology, right? Which endings. And so it was like divine timing. So now we're in the new year. So this is the new beginnings. And so it was like, I needed to up level the training and to bring things that I know were missing, that the processes and the activities that I do are the ones that really I end up doing with my clients anyway. So I might as well teach that, because that's my legacy, is to teach this to others so they can continue to carry it on.
And then how long does it take somebody to go through that kind of training anyway? Is it months or?
It's 6 to 7 months. And then we have 1 week on-site trainings. So they have to be here for a week. And the first week is all experiential. They just are embedded in, immersed in the healing of what they would be able to take their clients through.
I can just sense how amazing it is to watch people have moments of catharsis as they're learning, as they're releasing, as they're building their own faith or their own understanding and their own sensitivities.
Awakening.
Yeah, it must be quite an awakening. I mean, I felt like the horses initiated me that day. They saw me, they felt me, they picked me, and it was just unbelievable. Like, I just felt so special. I felt so seen, It's like if the humans could see me like that.
Yeah, because they pierce right in and they see who you really are. They know that the emotions and the energy that you're experiencing and that you've been hanging on to aren't serving you. Mm-hmm. And they don't see emotions as good or bad. They just see them as information so that they can respond accordingly and then move, and then they shake it off and then they come back to grazing again, right? So, we're teaching people how to get back into their bodies and then how to regulate their nervous system. If you got angry, what was that about? Learn, is it a boundary that was crossed? If you're afraid, was it an external threat or was it an internal threat? Because a lot of people have anxiety and stuff, and there's no external threat, but there's an internal threat.
Right. And a lot of people don't even know how to articulate that experience. And a lot of people aren't allowed to have those experiences in the outside world. So I imagine it must be pretty shocking to a certain degree to some people to realize, oh my God, I have a voice in this emotion. I have a way through holding pattern. I wonder if you see people's body structures even change. I would think so, eh? Oh my God.
And I've seen people go 10 years younger after a week of workshop. You think about all the stress and heaviness and the density and the layers, right? Like, it's like dark, cloudy, smoky energy. And it's like it comes off and then they become lighter and happier. And so to me, that's what enlightenment means, is to enlighten your energy body and your physical body, but not carrying stuff that no longer is serving you. Right. Get the message, get the learning, and let's see how we can let it go. But we need to get to where it originated so we can actually truly do a recall before it happens, so we can recall how we felt before the event happened.
That makes me wonder about trauma and PTSD and the extreme where people are so shut down. That's obviously a nervous system thing too. Does that take longer because somebody has PTSD, or is it just as easy to work through?
We all have experienced some sort of trauma.
Yeah.
This life, our ancestors' lives, and so it's really, if we could get to the root of it, it can make it a lot easier. So if you have someone who has PTSD because they were in a war, but then you look at their father was in a war and their grandfather was in a war and they all had PTSD, you're not going to get it by just dealing with the person that's presenting.
So would you end up talking about all the family dynamic too?
We do that, and we also have an opportunity for them to release it from the family as well.
So it's like instant ancestral healing almost.
Yeah.
Because ancestral healing alone can be really troublesome, eh? Like it can be really crazy making. I've watched people go through that, and it's really painful because, you feel like it's all only yours. A lot of times there's not even an awareness that you're doing ancestral healing. So the ability for you to recognize that or know going in, there's always a backstory. I think it's just an amazing service. Like, what an amazing gift to share. It must be very humbling for you too, because you're letting everybody live in a state of allowance instead of forcing it, obviously.
Yep. What they're ready for. The horses also know what they're ready for.
Really? So nobody's getting pushed to a point where they can't integrate. And
Just like, because sometimes you can take some of the plant medicines and it'll crack you open. But that doesn't actually help you to heal the emotions, because whatever you cracked open may not be the original event.
Right. Good point. So then you just got a little bit of layer and you're kind of dangling.
So I had a lady that did a little bit of medicine, and it brought her to a memory that she had shut off. And so in that memory, all the pain was there. So now she's out of the event, she's at home, but she's still activated. So we did a session over the phone, because I could do it on the phone, I can do it with horses, we can do it wherever. And we were able to go back and go to that event, but actually get her before the event and then give her back her innocence.
Oof. That must have been amazing. I'm sure, once you do this healing, it's permanent. It's not like it's a short-term effect, right? It literally changes everything.
When it's gone, it's gone.
It rearranges the whole playing field.
I was going to say, just think if you have amnesia, you don't have the pain.
Yeah.
Right? Because you don't remember it, right? So you can, it's not like you forget the event, but it doesn't have an emotional charge on it anymore, because now you have seen it from a different perspective, and now you can release the emotion that was causing the pain.
Was there anything else that you want to mention as far as the magic of the horses, or the things that have maybe struck you as some of the most amazing?
Well, I would say that it's so beautiful to be able to just treat the horse as a horse. We don't call it a therapist. We don't call it a healer. We don't call it our, teacher. They're just a horse, right? And we're just honoring them for being that being of a horse. And with their large, loving hearts, it's just even just being with them and grooming them and being in gratitude with them, it has an effect on your being. Your whole being. So I just invite people to become aware that if they're being called to be with the horses, then follow it.
And does anybody ever ride the horse on this kind of an excursion? No, eh? It's all on the ground level.
Because you can't look in their eyes.
Okay, I was wondering.
And plus they're at liberty, so they get to move around when they're with you to show you what's going on. And they can't do that if you're on their back. Right. When you're riding, and if the horse says, hey, like, I've only had 2 incidences where I've had the horses say, put them on my back. And it was bareback with a halter.
Really?
Yeah. And one was a date rape.
Ouch.
Right. And so she was numb. She had numbed out her whole legs and everything else. And this horse said, and she just loves riding and stuff. He said, put her on my back. So I put her on the back, and all of a sudden the tingling and the energy started to come back into her legs. So, there are times where they will say, but there's no saddle, there's no bridle. It's not like I'm going to make you do this. It's like, this is what they're doing, is connecting them back into their body again.
Wow, what a gift.
We set up the sessions in a way where we're finding out what the client is looking for, and then the activity that suits that. And then we ask the horses who wants to participate. Sometimes we work in their paddocks because that's where they want us to work. We then start the process, and then the horse is at liberty to come and do what they need to do when they need to do it. And sometimes we'll use objects, like you've seen the hula hoop, right? So we've used the hula hoop as to mark a presence of this is the now. We've also used it like to hook on a word. So there was a couple of things I showed you where we had cones, and we had the one horse kind of playing with the cone.
Yeah.
And on that cone, we have what we call the drama-trauma triangle. So we have a victim, we have a persecutor, and then we have a rescuer role. And when we get caught in that dynamic, where do we get pulled into it? And then we have 3 authentic circles, which are the listener, the challenger, and the supporter. and how the horses can help us step out of the triangle into more being authentic.
Oh my gosh. So will the horse get to one part of the triangle as a hint that that's where the person is stuck right now? Ooh, that must be quite interesting.
They'll either sometimes knock it over, or as this guy was like picking it up and waving it around like, hey, this is it. Like, come on, you got to deal with this.
So then I guess if you're willing to put yourself in a situation where you want to do this healing and you're challenged by the horse, and the horse is basically the perpetrator or the victim, I mean, that could be a little touch and go, eh?
You wouldn't say you are. You're the victim. We say, how does it feel when you're in that role of playing the victim? And then we would read out, what does the victim sound like? What do they act like? What do they say? And we've all been in the victim. We've all been in the persecutor. We've all been in the rescuer. Oh, I'll fix that for you.
Yeah, like every empath on earth. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So how do we, we've all been there. So it's not like we're making somebody wrong. It's like when we get sucked in. So if we're in relationships, sometimes we get sucked into that dynamic. Person, that's the only way they know how to be in relationships, to either be the persecutor or the victim or the rescuer.
Yeah. God, how liberating.
Yeah.
I mean, people would shift their dynamics by the end of that week, wouldn't they? I mean,
at the end of the session, yeah.
Right. Like all of their relationships would change immediately.
One girl, we were doing the Cartman drama trauma triangle, and she was standing at the rescue, and she had a horse standing beside her and they were there for like maybe 5-10 minutes. It was a long time. He was showing her how she is always rescuing her daughter.
Oof.
As a mother. And so it was like she's like, oh, she's a grown woman. I don't need to rescue her. I want to support her. I want to challenge her. I want to listen. Right. And so, it changed their dynamic, and they have such a good relationship now because the daughter doesn't have to be the victim and she doesn't have to be the rescuer.
Unbelievable. And a lot of times it is true, eh? The younger kids just repel away from parents when they're like that, and it suffers. The relationship suffers. So it's like you're liberating people, saving relationships.
I've had people say to me, do the horses bring in people who have passed?
Oh my God, because they are in the spirit world. So have you had experience where you can tell for sure that a horse is bringing in somebody from the spirit world?
And they know.
The horse?
The client knows.
Client knows.
He goes, oh my God, this is like my son. Like, this is how my son would be with me, and blah, 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 blah. And they have this moment of like, yeah.
So the horse would take on some of the personality traits.
Channel that energy through to them.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
That must be eerie for the person, right? Like, you don't expect that to happen.
You never know what's going to happen. You just got to be open and prepared for whatever the horses are going to bring up.
Do they ever sing? Like, do you ever hear them? I don't know why I'm asking that question, but for some reason, I mean, I know they talk, but do you ever get the sense that they're actually singing?
Well, one of my horses, one day I was cleaning the paddock, and all of a sudden I started hearing a song. Mm-hmm. And it was Heart with I'm a Magic Man, Mama.
Oh, no kidding.
And I looked at him and I started singing and I go, are you a magic man? And he started licking and chewing, going, yep, I'm a magic man. And so that's what he wanted to be called, as Magic Man.
That's so cool. Oh, and so then you called him Magic Man after that?
Yeah. He still blitz, but yeah, he was my Magic Man, yeah. We have 3 females, 3 mares, and then 2 geldings. We used to have 3 geldings and 3 mares, so it was like a balance. At first, we had 2 girls, 2 boys, and 2 boys, and then it went 2 girls, 2 boys, and a couple.
Oh, sweet.
And now we have 2 girls, a single, and then a couple.
So are they literally a couple?
Well, they act like it when they're out in the, and they reflect like couple stuff.
No kidding.
Yeah, sometimes they'll be all kissy and lovey and everything else, and then sometimes they're like biting at each other and kicking at each other and stuff, and it's sort of like, so what do you think they're showing us? Right?
But that's
is this you? Is this your parents? Like,
Oh my God, that must be wild. So they're like little actors and actresses acting out the dynamic that they sense in everyone else.
Yeah. And then once we get it, they'll shift. I had it where this girl, we were talking about her mom and dad, and the horses were fighting, or like literally ears back and at each other. And then we kind of turned around, and then we started, okay, so well, how's your relationship? And then I turn around and we look at the horses and they're kissing.
Oh my God.
They went like that quickly from, that story to her vibration with this story. So
unbelievable.
when we're doing the work, it's very interactive. We do a tabletop chakra balancing where we use colored glasses and tuning forks, and the client may lay down, but we get them to the place where they feel comfortable.
So how do the colored glasses work? Could client wear them or?
Yes. Yeah. So we would check their chakras to find out which of them is out of balance. And then we would associate that with the color. So if we're at the root, we do start with, we start at the root and work our way up. So with the red and the orange, the yellow, the green, the blue, the indigo, violet. So we have the 7 glasses, and we stay to the 7. I mean, there's more. I know there's higher ones and stuff, but we stay to the 7. And then we bring the tuning forks in. And if we're working outside, we will then have a horse around as well.
Wow. So that's really a full service plan. I mean, it's identify the issue, right? Identify what wants to clear, get to the core of it, and then balance out the energies once you've got them into their parasympathetic then, right?
Yep. And also, we also want to start learning to teach the people how to anchor in positive states.
Okay.
Because we're in such a rut of always clear, instead of like, I need to bring in, remember being positive, remember being grounded, remember being clear, all these different other emotions that we can access that are more beneficial. Mm-hmm. So we want to bring in and start getting that access going, because we're so into the negative that we don't get the positive. So we want to bring balance.
Yeah. That must be really something to watch. You do have an interest in training more people, obviously, right? Like that's a major goal, as well as doing the workshops.
If anybody's interested in learning more about the Mystic Hearts, they can always go on my website at mysticwatersranch.com and look under the training, and that's where the Mystic Hearts EFL training is underneath.
Do you need more than one facilitator when you do the workshops? Like, do you prefer to have more than one
There should be 2, always 2. Yeah. And we do about 6 people in a workshop, because that's the amount of people that you can actually take them through the activities at a good pace, rather than if you have too many, they can't do too much. If you have less, you can do more. So, yeah. But if anything happens to a horse or a client, you need somebody else to take care of that. So you have to always have 2.
Thanks so much for talking to me about your talent and your gifts and your modalities and the horses.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me and for listening.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Brenda. I really appreciate it.